this computer. All right. Well, hey everyone. I want this. This is Kurt Galley. I have a special guest with me today. After hearing his presentation at our business networking group, I thought you should know more about him and what his talk that he did to us about asset protection. I feel it's good for boomers and seniors to be up to date on what's happening in the world to protect your assets. And I'm guessing that your current agent probably has not reached out to you and called you with this new information that I know Colt will make you aware of through this little podcast him and I are doing together. So I want to introduce you to Colt Halloran. He's an agent with Goosehead Insurance in Downers Grove. Colt joined Goosehead because he, truly cares about taking care of his clients. He had a previous insurance background, decided to go it on his own though. So he takes his top-notch, and then with Goosehead, he's got some top-notch technology to compare options from many A-rated insurance companies in just a few minutes, actually. Actually, Colt, I think you'd have somebody could do it on their own too, just to kind of compare rates as well. So then this helps him find the right coverage at a great price. What I love about Colt is he takes the time to go over all choices and customizes a policy based on what each client needs. Plus, once you've picked an option, he mentions that he's got a service team that has the highest quality client loyalty ratings in the industry. So I'm sure Colt would agree that our business networking group teaches us a lot about from different industries, helping us make smart decisions for ourselves and our families, which is the goal of me inviting Colt onto this Zoom presentation. If you request a quote, if I'll include Colt's information, but if you were to get a quote from Colt, you'll see why Goosehead is one of the fastest growing insurance distributors in the U.S. But really, it's all about caring people like Colt who want to help me make the right choices, whether you end up getting a policy for him or not. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Colt Halloran.
All right. Hello, everyone. And Kurt, no, thank you very much for the intro. I'm excited to do this. This would be the first time I've done anything like this as well. So, no, we're looking forward to getting going.
Maybe you and I will start the trend in getting 15 million like Joe Rogan does, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for it.
Yeah,
Whatever we
all
can
for
do.
it, right? 15 million listeners, I don't, it's a
Yeah.
great goal to shoot for, I guess, but anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, for
So,
sure. But yeah, so no, yeah, like I said, thanks for having me on here, Kurt. But
absolutely.
yeah, what I kind of wanted to just kind of share with you and all of your followers and all of your listeners, or viewers, I guess I should say, since
Yeah.
we're, be
Yeah.
doing this live here. Um, so my latest talk just that I did in our Naperville Leads group, 2 weeks ago now, was really centered really around asset protection. Now, like Kurt had mentioned, yes, I am an insurance broker with Goosehead Insurance, and I do represent many A-rated carriers. And one of the things that not only Goosehead touts in the industry, but the insurance industry in general, they always kind of tout is speed, or really kind of any industry is speed. We're going to be in and out. 15 minutes can save you 15% on insurance, whatever that is.
Oh, yeah.
Well, speed is great. I'm not discounting that whatsoever. I mean, a lot of people like to get things done in a very timely manner, but I think it's very important as well to take the time with the client and ask the right questions because we do want to make sure that we get the right coverages in place because the very last thing that I would ever want for myself, and I try to always put myself in the shoes of my customers, if I write a policy, I want to make sure that that's going to be enough to take care of that person. I always like to preface the question too when I'm doing car insurance. Hey, if you were in an accident, how much of that accident would you want your insurance company to pay for? Well, I think we could probably all agree that we're paying insurance premiums for a reason. So the insurance company should pay for everything,
Hmm.
and it should protect us in the event that we need it. So, like I said, speed is great, but I think getting everything done properly and asking the right questions is even better. So, what I kind of talked about in our leads group last week was all around asset protection, specifically around some life insurance, as well as what some people may know of and some people may not know of in the insurance industry is an umbrella policy.
Hmm.
So, if you're not familiar with an umbrella policy, here's essentially what it does. Now, your underlying liability limits on your auto insurance policy as well as your home insurance policy, more times than not, with every carrier, unless you've been grandfathered in a certain special way, need to be at least $500,000 of liability. Now, what is liability? Liability is the coverage that would pay to a third party if you caused harm to someone else. So think about, if you were in an automobile accident, and here's my example of why an umbrella policy may be important. Let's say that obviously I never want anyone to use insurance by any means. I want to make sure we have the right stuff in place. You cause a 10 car pile up on the interstate, and you've got $500,000 of liability coverage that protects a third party in the event that you cause injury. I think we can all agree that the costs of everything, including medical treatment, medical care, has all risen, and I
Big
don't
time.
see it going down anytime soon. But what an umbrella policy does, it provides you an extra $1 million of liability protection in the event that something catastrophic like that happens. So now instead of having $500,000 of an auto policy, you've got $1.5 million of coverage, which is definitely going to put you in a much better spot as opposed to if you had just the 500,000. Another really good example that I always like to use, especially with any type of a landlord situation that I get into. I think we can all agree that we all live in a very litigious world.
Oh yeah.
People always want an easy, quick way to make a few bucks. I know that that's many boomers, do have rental properties, or properties that they, rent out to other folks as well. But let's say you have a tenant that falls down the stairs or something like that and breaks their leg really bad. You've only got $500,000 of liability again. And let's say this leg injury is so severe that it costs about $750,000, which is not totally out of the picture. Again, having that umbrella policy in place and asking the right questions about what type of assets do you have, what do we need to protect, an umbrella policy in that situation as well is going to provide more protection for that customer. So, I've got a million other examples we can go over, but hopefully that kind of helps paint a little bit of a
Well, I think we
picture.
we
And
talked about one. If somebody, I think you mentioned, speaking with umbrella, it was somebody that was trying to break into a house sued because they got hurt or something like that. I think we were talking about that at group too, and I
yeah,
can't remember the details of that, but that was one of the examples too, right? Wasn't it?
yeah. So that example that we kind of talked about. Now, again, obviously I wasn't there. It wasn't my customer. I don't know
Right.
all the particulars, but um, yeah, someone actually had broken in. Well, actually, this was one of my customers this happened to. An ex-boyfriend came to the door. The customer of mine didn't really want to talk to him or anything like that at that point. So the person went around to the back because he wanted to visit her new puppies, opened the gate, went inside the gate, puppies bit him, and he's suing her.
Oh my
And
God.
trust me, insurance companies do not like any type of a dog bite claim, and they are not cheap, especially the way that they kind of got after this. And it's a German Shepherd. There were two German Shepherd puppies actually too.
Oh.
So there are certain companies too that do not like German Shepherds at all. So just make sure that you talk with your broker as well about dog breeds. But that's a certain type of situation. There are other situations that, the insurance agents always talk about of people breaking into homes. A thief, cuts his leg on something, but he ends up suing the homeowner who he was breaking into. And depending on the type of lawyer and the type of judge and jury that you get, that homeowner may be
Wow.
liable to pay for that intruder's injuries.
That's incredible.
Yeah, yeah. So asset protection. I can't, say enough how important it is to be having these types of conversations. Not everyone likes to talk about their money, but it's a conversation that needs to be had because you don't want, someone getting away with a quick payday on your own dime.
Oh, yeah, exactly. That's kind of like in my world, nobody wants to do a will or a power of attorney of healthcare, power of attorney of finances, because if we do that, all of a sudden they're going to die the next day, kind of thing. It's like, no, get those things in place,
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
those types of things. Now, another thing that you talked about too was like social, obviously with the big social media, if you say something on social media, you talked about that coverage that I think, as I remember, it was like $1 or something to add to your policy. What was kind of
Yeah. Yeah.
all
Absolutely.
about that? I thought that was new to all of us too.
Yeah. So, I think most of us have given some type of a Yelp review, a Google review. That's just kind of the world we live in now. Everyone reads the reviews, whatever product you're buying, if it's Amazon or a restaurant, whatever. Um, there are many situations now that people can sue for anything, especially a restaurant owner. So the type of coverage that I talked about at our leads group, and it's a very, very inexpensive coverage to put on your homeowner's policy. So it's something that's not even negotiable for me. I always put it on, costs about $1 a month. So you're looking at about $12 a year, but it's called personal injury. It could also be called like personal asset protections, something along those lines, but most of the time it's called personal injury coverage. And what it protects people against is anything such as slander, which you're speaking to someone in a very derogatory way. Libel, which is anything that is written, which this could be a Google review, some type of a blog, a post, something like that. Wrongful arrest, wrongful termination, wrongful eviction of some type. It
Mm.
actually would give you up to the policy limit of your replacement cost on your home. So, for example, if your replacement cost on your home, if your house was deemed a total loss due to like a fire or something like that, and it's $400,000, the personal injury protection endorsement on your homeowner's policy would provide you a level of up to that $400,000 that the insurance company will represent you to make sure that you don't go to jail or have to pay anything out of your own pocket. So,
Mm.
again, it's a non-negotiable for me with my customers, my business, something we always talk about. I would say on a weekly basis, I get hit up for reviews all the time. So it's just it's a no-brainer to me.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Especially being in a litigious world, as far as
Yeah.
somebody just taking
Yeah.
something wrong, and
For
coming
sure.
coming after you.
Um, yeah. And then really, maybe this is where you were going to go next, Kurt, just in the terms of asset protection, just life insurance in general. So,
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, there's a ton of different life insurance policies you can get. Um, you know, there's anything from term life insurance, which is just going to provide you a dollar amount of coverage for a certain term limit. So that whether that be 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, something like that, you have a specified term. You have permanent life insurance, which will actually build cash value dependent upon the stock market and everything as well. And we've also got things such as final expenses. But, especially if I deal with a lot of first time home buyers, even too. So not even just boomers, but first time home buyers. You know,
Hmm.
it's great. Most people have life insurance through work. But a lot of times that's really not going to cover you enough. So let's say that, I'm working a W-2 job. I make $50,000 a year. I do have life insurance, but it may only be 1x or 2x my salary. So let's say it's 2x my salary. That only gives me $100,000. And in my example, I've got a wife and two small children, and now I've got a $300,000 mortgage. I don't think $100,000 is really going to go very far. I mean, my whole
Right.
thing as a man, I mean, even just a person, I want to make sure that my family is taken care of in the event that I don't make it home. And just as an example, I have $1 million term policy on myself. And this is not just a brag, but $1 million term policy for me is costing me about $50 a month. Very affordable, very, very simple to do. I actually have options that don't even require a medical exam, no blood work, no urine, nothing like that. We can get it set up with about a 10 or 15-minute questionnaire. It can spit out your rate right there. We can bind it online, and you have that peace of mind knowing that you're covered in the event that if something does happen, your family can still maintain the lifestyle that they have with you not being there. Um, coming from another, so as you had kind of mentioned, I'm my own independent broker now. I worked on the corporate side for another insurance company. The other
Uh-huh.
insurance company that I was working for had a very heavy focus on life insurance, and there were a million and one different examples that they would talk about where, families have had to move out of homes and go into one-bedroom apartments because there was nothing in place when the primary breadwinner was gone. Um, I always told myself whenever I got to the position of being a business owner and I had the ability to protect people like that, I would never let that happen. Now there are times, of course, where people, they don't want to talk about it. Talking about death, as you know, is not a very fun topic. It's very morbid, but it's a part of life, unfortunately. What are the two things that everyone is going to have to do in life? We're going to have to pay taxes, and we're going to die at some point.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you cover your mortgage. We got to cover your life, in the event that you're not around anymore. So, I don't know. I know I could get on, a whole nother soapbox and tangent on that, but I know we only got a few minutes. But I mean, just in the event that something were to happen, we just always want to make sure that we're protected.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and then back to that life insurance too. I think we talked about in the group as well is that the work life insurance. I've got a 23-year-old daughter. She wasn't even at her place of employment for a year, and now she's already looking for a different job. And it's like we talked about, that life insurance. I think you were mentioning that it might only cover if your life the life is taken on when you're on the job, right? Or I mean,
Yeah, I
depending on
mean,
how it's written, I'm sure, but right.
yeah, yeah. So it's definitely something that you would want to check with your HR department on, I would say. But many of those work life insurance policies that you have will only cover you or will only pay out if you are killed in the line of work. Again, it's just a question that you're going to ask your HR. And then also more times than not, so your daughter's, for example, with the job that she's at right now, she's got life insurance through work, hopefully. But if she leaves that job, more than likely she can't take that life insurance policy
Right.
with her. She's going to have to get something else down the road, or at her new job. So I always tell people it's great that you have that benefit. A lot of jobs don't offer that, but you just want to make sure that you have enough. So a
Right.
lot of things can happen.
And actually, I
Nothing's
have to
guaranteed.
say, I'll have to ask her because I don't even know. But at the
Mhm.
same time, if she was going to get something, I'd say, hey, just get something, on your own to,
Mhm.
because especially these millennials, you know, obviously this was hopefully going out to mainly boomers and seniors, but they've got
Mhm.
kids and grandkids that they need to consider these things, for them, kind of thing, right?
Yeah. And, the term life insurance, that can be used while a person is alive. That's what a permanent life insurance policy will do. So, another conversation that I have with a lot of boomers and grandparents and stuff, maybe I catch wind that, down the road I'm doing a review with them or something, and they're saying they're expecting their first grandchild or something like that. That's a perfect opportunity to provide a life insurance policy for that new baby. Now, um,
Oh, yeah.
I'll share my own personal story about that. So, I mean, I have two young children. I have a 3-year-old and an 8-month old. I bought whole life policies on them, as soon as I could when they were born. But my own kind of funny story with that, my dad and my mom and dad, they did the same thing for me.
Oh,
And
really?
it's not
Oh,
something that I'll always recommend. It's not that this part was not something that I'll always recommend, but it came in very handy. So whenever it came time to me to propose to my now wife, I had this whole life insurance policy. It had built up, we'll say, about $10,000 in cash value, and it was a very small policy. It's maybe $25,000. I wanted to buy a ring. I didn't have the money to buy a ring. I didn't really want to do a whole bunch of installment payments. So what did I do? Cashed in that life insurance policy, and that's how my wife got her wedding ring. So,
oh, wow.
I mean, that's just another added benefit. It is called life insurance, so you can use it while you're alive. Like I said, that's not something that I would always typically recommend, but hey, it's a benefit.
But was that actually like taking a loan out
So you
against
could have
it? So
done
you still
that.
have the policy in place, right?
I still have policies. I had another policy in place that covered way more than $25,000, on
Oh,
myself,
okay. So
but
that was
that
just like
policy.
yeah.
Yeah. So that policy in particular, I surrendered it. But yes, I could have taken a loan out against it, but obviously I was young and didn't really know much about it until afterwards. Then I spoke with someone that actually sold life insurance. We're like, why didn't you just take a loan out against it? I'm like, oh, well, now you tell me. But yes,
Mhm.
that's another way that you can do that with a whole life insurance policy.
Okay. Because actually, my mother
Mhm.
actually took policies out for her grandchildren.
Mhm.
I think they're Gerber policies, is that right? Gerber?
Probably, yep. Yep.
That they're small, but still something, you
Yeah,
know.
very inexpensive though. Maybe costs $100 a year, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Oh,
and it can offer, 25,000, $50,000. I think right now for my son who's 3 years old, I bought him a $50,000 whole life policy, and I think I pay it annually, and I think it was $125 a year. So I just write the check, and there you go.
there you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, as far as reviews, maybe this can be one last question here. What would you recommend, and why would somebody want to get a review? Because I'm pretty sure you're familiar with costs and what's happening in the insurance world. So, why would it be important for somebody that, thinks they're, oh, I'm okay? Why would they want to, just take the time to have a review and just to make sure they're in a good spot, which you would, I'm pretty sure you would say if they're in a good spot, you'd say, hey, you know what, everything's looks good. Or maybe you could save them a few bucks too.
Yeah, no, for sure. No, and a very solid question. And I think the simplest answer would be is that life changes. I'm sure where you are today is not going to be the same where you are a year from now. And as we had talked about in group before too, the cost of insurance just keeps going up. The benefit of having an insurance broker on your side, in your corner, whatever you want to call it, is they've got access to all of the other A-rated carriers in the marketplace. So, for example, my own insurance policies with no claims, no accidents, no tickets, nothing like that, went up $1,000. The costs of rebuilds, lumber, labor, materials, everything like that are all going up. The catastrophic events across the country, even though we don't live in those areas where it's affecting us directly, the carriers that we have up here, guess what? They're insuring homes and cars down in those affected areas too. They're paying out massive losses. So they're trying to make up for their loss ratios. So having huge loss ratios paired with inflation and increased cost of goods, that's going to make your insurance prices go up. So, I mean, just to protect your pocketbook, even, I mean, we want to make sure we get you into the best spot. And then, especially too, if you've got another kid that just happened that, maybe you didn't tell me about, that's another reason why it's important to have a review. We want to make sure that we're protecting your family, especially being if you're the breadwinner, whether you're the husband, the wife, or whatever the case may be, that's your job. I mean, that's your biblical duty. You have to take care of your
Yeah.
family no matter what. We've all taken that oath, maybe metaphorically or speaking, but that's just part of life. And that's why it's important to have a review. We want to try our best to mitigate all the risks, protect all of our assets, protect the family, and make sure that we're in the best spot for our pocketbook. Simple as that.
Yep, yep. And then, like you mentioned too, since you're a broker, you can shop the different versus like your Allstate and your
Yeah,
State Farms
like
or that's who they
yeah,
are.
you're
They
captive.
just can only
Yeah.
provide what they can or quote you what they can quote, whereas you can shop them all
Hmm.
to help or your system does that, right? Is that right? If somebody wanted to get a review, can they go to your and I'm asking you, as far as
Yeah.
if I put that in the description below, can they just go there and kind of do um, like an online tool thing too,
Yeah.
or before, but
Yeah. So
before you have to take, anyways, like do their homework on their
yeah.
own kind of thing? Or
Yeah.
through
So
your
I do
tool?
have a website. Yeah, no, I do have a website that gives them kind of limited access to what I have called a comparative rater tool. By putting in your basic info, names, birthdays, driver's license numbers, VIN numbers, all that, it'll spit out all of your preliminary rates. When I say preliminary, that's just before running any motor vehicle reports, loss ratio reports, anything like that. So you can kind of have all that information done. And then at the end of it, it'll have my name and number, and you can click to call me or you can email me, whatever the case may be. I have all of your information that's already saved that comes directly to me. And then I can finish off all the quotes for you, run everything, run all the reports, make sure that all the prices are final and what you would actually be paying. And what you had kind of talked about too, the benefit of being a broker, I can actually shop around and give you better, if not same, if not better coverage as with your carrier A that you've had with carrier B without having to skimp out on any coverages or raise deductibles. I know some people like to do that, but it's It's what most of the captive carriers have to do, like the State Farm, the All States, whoever's selling just their own line. The only way they can really get price down is to raise deductibles or start taking coverages away. You don't necessarily have to do that with the broker. That's the benefit of having it as well.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Good.
Mhm. Yeah.
Good, good, good.
Mhm.
So, well, thanks, Colt, for all that wealth of information. I know there's probably more, but I guess that'd be good for today anyway. So,
Yeah. Yeah. No, I appreciate you having me, Kurt. Always happy to help and hopefully looking forward to doing many more of these down the road.
yeah, absolutely. Sounds good. So, well, I'll just sign off here for one